This episode of Watch Out for Fireballs, like every single episode of our show, is brought to you by our patrons. If you go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you too can support your boys and get a bunch of cool stuff in exchange. Also, this episode, you're listening to this on the private feed next weekend, if you're listening to this on the public feed in a couple days, is Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Come see us. We are paneling Saturday night at 8 p.m. Come see us talk about some of our favorite games that don't get enough attention. Thank you. My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about the downloadable content for Resident Evil 7, which is a survival horror game. This content came out over the course of 2017, I believe.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, guys, you don't do DLC. And we'll say, shut your fucking face.
I mean, we've done expansion packs before.
Yeah, we did Minerva's Den.
Yeah, we did Mask of the Betrayer.
Yeah, as you know, separate episodes. We did both those Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
DLCs. Yeah, we do DLC. This is a little weird because it's a big variety pack.
It is.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because, like, a lot of it is canon, actually. It fills in the story and weirdly concludes the story. It is weird that it concludes the story, and it concludes the story weirdly.
I agree on both counts.
Yes.
And this is continuing for me, the theme of I gotta say, for like my favorite month of the year for doing the show, it has been a little bit of a letdown for me because we haven't done anything scary, and we spoiler, we won't throughout the month. And there's even kind of a breathness, I feel, and we could be on different pages about this, in what we've done this month, even in terms of like scary ideas, not just being scared.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just kind of like not enough like weird. Like I was pretty disappointed with both these big story DLCs. Like they're fine.
Yeah,
they're fun to play. I thought they were fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how it ends the story.
Yeah.
Of Resident Evil 7. I don't think they compare to the main game.
Nope.
At all. Like, I love the main game. I re-listened to our episode about it to refresh my memory, and I was like, oh, I should just replay Resident Evil 7 when I get a chance, because that game was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
This is like one of the best games I played that year. Like, easy. Like, it's so good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the conversation moved on from it, which is a bummer, because it's incredibly good. And then it's just like this, and I'm playing Alan Wake now, and Alan Wake is like interesting, but like, boy, that combat loop.
Mm-hmm.
You do it.
You do it a bunch.
You do it. There's a real like shining a flashlight and then 3 revolver pops. As just kind of, it's almost like you can set a watch to it.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens a lot, So there's a lot like this month I feel like this month the weird accidental theme is like things that are about horror.
Yeah.
Without being horror games. Like I don't even know if I would classify either of these as horror. The story DLC things for Resident Evil 7 as horror.
Yeah.
Like they have some of the language of horror, but they're not, they don't feel like they're like a pure part of the genre to me.
Yeah, no, they feel cut with something else. Specifically the two big ones, which is weird because we're going to end up comparing those to the DLCs that came out first, Daughters and Bedroom specifically, 21 to a certain extent as well, that feel much more in line with the main game and feel much more in line with like general horror kind of things. That puts you into far more uncomfortable and dreadful situations than either Not a Hero or End of Zoe do. I'm sorry, End of Zoa.
Zoe of the Enders.
Yes.
Something happened between those because they had the found footage or the lost footage.
Band footage.
Band footage. I'd get it eventually, I'm sure. I'm not sure. we had the footage DLCs, which did come out, were a fast follow and do feel of a piece, to your point.
Yeah.
And then there's a big break.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, I re-listened to our episode on it, and we said like, hey, by the time we did this episode, the DLCs were supposed to be out.
Yeah.
And they just weren't. Like, they got delayed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that was like for heavy retooling, or it was to like what happened to make that delay. But it feels like there's a story here because of how weird and off they are in comparison.
I know at least one of them, Not a Hero, was designed by an outside studio. They'd shipped it out to Hexadrive, which primarily had done like HD updates of games or like side games. So Hexadrive is the team that made The Third Birthday, was one of their first. Was one of their first games.
Your life meter is how much clothes you're wearing.
Yeah.
In that game. Okay.
Yeah, something that is, not very. It doesn't handle the source material well.
I thought it was super weird that in Not a Hero, the more that you got hurt, the more of your dick showed.
Yep. And just
like you're
that
always
too.
erect, and just the condom just keeps getting ripped up. Like all the molded are just going up and slashing at your dick, and you're like, "Not today, cupcake," and then you fight them off.
Yeah,
And by the end, like almost the whole thing was showing. It was really weird. Like I don't know if it's actually considered nudity if you don't show the head, but it's somehow they skirted it or what, but. Yeah.
That's dumb. Gary, that was a dumb thing to say.
What if that was the case though? What if you could just put like a pasty,
just a pasty right over the hole?
Yeah, just over, it was like safe for work.
But no pubes though. You have to be clean shaven. Got to be aerodynamic.
And then it's absolutely like legit.
Yeah,
and fine.
No, you just put that on Sesame Street.
Yeah, it's the. Anywho, so that happens with Beef Boy, and it's weird. Should we get into it? Because talking about these generally is weird because they're so different.
Yes, let's do it. So, Gary, the order that I put these in is chronological by story, and I put the weirdos at the end.
Yeah, so we're gonna end with some real non-consequential bullshit.
Yes,
with the things that should have been options for the main game.
Right.
But let's talk Daughters.
Daughters is incredibly good.
Daughters is great.
Yeah. So this actually shows the infection of the Baker family. This takes place 3 years before the main game, when the hurricane actually hit. And the Bakers were a loving family, plus Lucas, who was always a sullen sadist. And the ship carrying both Mia and Evie, the little child biological weapon, washes up, and they take them in. And we kind of see the tragedy unfold in a way that we are helpless to stop.
Yeah, and it's really effective. Like, this is, out of all of the DLCs, this is by far the most additive to the story.
Yes.
And I think the reason why is because it, fairly late in Resident Evil 7, you get to talk to Jack's ghost, his Force ghost or what have you, who says, like, hey, we're not bad people. And you kind of get a sense like, oh, these are victims too.
Yes.
But it's not like you do get a strong sense of that, but you don't get the full picture. And this is like fulfills a really key kind of emotional projection of like what that looks like.
Yeah.
And also is scary and effective and good, like on its own. Like this is, arguably, if it wasn't for the creativity of one of the later ones, this would be my favorite DLC. Here, this is incredibly good.
Yes.
So it starts off with the storm. The bio is getting hit. We spend our time in the house here, which is in much better shape.
Yes.
Like they have not always just had like roiling soup pots of cockroaches 24/7.
Although it is kind of funny to like go and look around in the back that there are some hoarder tendencies. Yeah. Like if you go into the pantry or whatever, like there are some just garbage bags kind of piled up against a corner. Things like that. You can see the basis for what's going to happen a little bit later on. But the house, much like the family, are in pretty good shape. During this, you're playing as Zoe. The person who you most likely left for dead on the dock.
It's a good ending to leave her for dead.
Yes. Yeah. And the canonical one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Like it starts out with this with this news broadcast saying like, hey, the storm's hitting, blah, blah, blah. Dulvey County being hit worst of all. And you can just explore something that's interesting that implies or outright states that this is in the main Resident Evil continuity. Is that there is a newspaper that talks about UN aid to Edonia. on the coffee table. Edonia being
the land where Dilbert's from.
Yes.
Like, is that what those Dilbert people are from there?
Yeah. No, I think that's Dildonia.
Okay.
Yeah. Were you setting me up to say Dildonia?
No. I think there is like a weird fake country in Dilbert.
Oh, okay.
Where the
intern's from?
Yeah. The racist intern comes from in Dilbert.
Yeah. But Edonia is where part of Resident Evil 6 took place.
Mm.
Yeah.
So Jack goes out, he is going out checking on the storm, comes in and brings Evelyn in, EVN, from the rain. She's got this black substance on her. And everyone is very concerned. He's going to bring, kind of take care of her. Marguerite, the mother, asks you to go get some clean clothes.
Yes.
From Lucas's room. Lucas is being a shit, like, hey, not my room. It's like, well, you haven't used that room in forever.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of setting up, like, being actually pretty clever about, like, why there's just a furnished children's room in this house with no children that they need to use later for creepy factor, and without having to actually rebuild the house.
Yes.
Reuse it, kind of, again, clean everything up, but actually repurpose the geography in a really clever way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that Lucas is just always on his cell phone during this. Yeah. It is such a good character beat for him. And it plays into getting the good ending. But yeah, something else that I noticed, the list on the fridge, which in the game, like, talked about the different people that they ate. Here, it's just a regular shopping list: eggs, milk, stuff for Lucas, etc.
Yeah. Yep. John Milk.
Yep.
Richard Eggs. Like everybody's going.
Hi, I'm Dick Eggs.
Yeah. I'm Dick Eggs. There's an egg right in front. It's not nudity. So you give go upstairs, you give the clothes to Evie, and she opens her eyes, full on Ringu, like scary, black-haired, pale girl, and whispers like, they're mine now.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lights go out.
And all that's left is a girl-shaped imprint on the bed in that black substance, which is, which people think is oil, but is actually the fungus. Yeah.
That's the molded stuff. So we go off, we're like calling for our dad, like, hey, has there been a power outage, etc. We hear Margaret talking in the upstairs bathroom, Marguerite rather, and go up to go talk to her, and she's got her back turned to us.
Mm-hmm. Standing over the bathtub that is full of water, like you would if there was a storm going on. And she, as opposed to being sweet and caring, is talking a little bit unhinged and says, "Come see her gift. Look at all of the pretties my girl has given me." She turns around.
Most of them are bees. Spoilers for My Girl.
That scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, Gary.
Yeah, it was a terrifying movie.
Yeah. But she turns around and her mouth erupts in bugs. Marguerite was one of the first to be taken.
Yeah, she vomits bugs.
Yes.
They never quite explain why everyone turns into like a regular monster, but she gets this bug association.
Yeah.
We don't really need it. It's just scary.
Yes.
It is okay. Jack comes in. I love this portrayal. I love good Jack.
Yes, good Jack is great.
Like, I love the voice actor, and he just, trying to restrain her and like trying to help her, because it's like, there's that temptation when you're watching a zombie movie to be like, oh, they're a zombie now, kill them. But nobody's going to do that to an actual person they care about.
Yeah.
You're gonna try. They're sick.
Yeah.
That's a really reasonable kind of reaction.
You think she's having like an episode or like an epileptic fit or something like that.
Whatever, centipede puking episodes.
Yeah.
As you do.
People say, you eat 7 bugs a year, right? And just for her, all of them stayed alive and then grew big and came back out.
Yeah, all of them were pregnant.
But he's trying to restrain her, and she's going full on deadite, and kiss me, lover, etc.
Yeah,
and Jack's like, Jack is eye on the prize, like, hey, we need a restrainer. Go to the garage and get me some rope.
Yep. So you go down to get in some hoarder tendencies, like a filthy weight passage down to the garage. Get in the garage, get this rope, and then when you get back up, Jack is holding Marguerite under the water.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently drowning her.
Yep.
And I'm glad you called out this note, because this note is great. This
dialogue. He is, incredibly angry. He says, "Don't you worry, it's a whole lot worse than it looks."
Yeah, and that's a great line. I love that so much. So he turns around at this point. You can see something's wrong with him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Marguerite is just floating, like drowned, apparently. And it's again really heartbreaking. Like you're saying, like, daddy. And then he takes out a knife, and you think he's going to stab you, and he stabs himself in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
To show his devotion. When he's running after you again, like I love the way that the monster forms, or the kind of these forms of the bakers, like still resemble themselves, where he's just like, when I say I need rope, you give me rope. And I'm like, this is so far not about rope anymore, but like the thing that you have turned into remembers a little bit of that urge or whatever.
Yes.
It kind of makes sense as this like emotional inertia. Like you felt this adrenaline need for rope, then this thing took over you, and now that is metastasized into this horrific.
Yeah, and it is manifesting as child abuse. It is manifesting as, I'm going to berate you for not doing anything right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it should be said, this is a non-combat DLC. There's nothing you can do except for run and try to avoid them. Yeah.
Which is not actually, it's also not a very difficult DLC. It's like very much like a little novella microfiction.
Yes.
Kind of thing. It's not difficult. It's very short. Mm-hmm. We're almost done with the quote unquote the bad ending of this. The way that you get the good ending of this is arbitrary and dumb.
Yes.
To me, but we're almost done with the body of it.
Mm-hmm.
So he chases you. You run into the game room. Use the rope to tie the door to kind of stop him, and you escape out the window.
Yeah.
There's a little puzzle here.
Yeah, it's done under pressure. It's it's timed. To get the board off the wall, you have to grab a fork from Marguerite's little room there, and use that to pry the nails out. I got caught on this because I forgot there was a fork that you needed.
Yeah. Yep. When you go back out and hide. When you come back inside, we see Jack grabbing Lucas and dragging him and promising he'll get the gift.
Yes,
and he's a shit, but he's your brother.
Yeah,
like in fiction.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't need to be doesn't deserve to be dragged down a hallway, at least not for this.
Yeah. And then the kind of gameplay climax of it is doing a miniature stealth sequence past Marguerite in the main hall. Like for a second, it's like, hey, your mother's alive, but also, she's clearly threatening now.
Yes, she's found her lantern and she is walking a circuit and yelling like, Zoe, just trying to convince you, like, oh, it's going to be so good. I better hope I don't catch you. It's going to be so good. Things like that. And something that is worth noting is the front door of the hall is locked.
Yeah.
You need one of the Cerberus heads. And that is, how you get the good ending. The only other way that you can go is out the garage, right? So you go out the one open door and there's this real heartbreaking kind of scene. As you're headed back toward the kitchen and dining room, etc., where Marguerite has caught you, but she has managed to assert control over Evie's influence, and she tearfully gives you the car keys and says, hey, you need to go get out and bring help because you are incredibly doomed, and then locks the door behind you.
Yeah. Yep. These little, glimmers of caring.
Yes.
Are just really great. Mm-hmm. So you head to the car keys. Jack is near the garage. So you have to go through the crawl space in order to get him. And when you get to the car, Evie shows up and kind of shocks you and distracts you long enough for Jack to pull you out of the car and beat the shit out of you.
Yes. And the DLC ends with the full family sitting at the dining table. Evelyn's at the center. Here it's just a still. The good ending shows the more horrifying part of it. Yeah. To get the good ending, I'm happy you agree with this, Gary. It is arbitrary and bullshit. I don't think that there is a way that you would get this on your first go.
No.
Yeah. Which is, just not great. The key is you have to, get the Cerberus head to open the front door and get to the trailer. But to do that, you have to understand to look over Lucas's shoulder and see what he's doing on his phone at certain times where you can see him enter his passcode. Because he is careless and lazy. His passcode on his phone is the same as the passcode on his computer.
Yeah, nobody does that. So this is getting that as a fun little hint if I was positioned as if I am in puzzle mode.
Yeah.
Right? That's a cool puzzle. Follow this person around and look at their phone to see them put in their password and hope it's the same as the computer. But I didn't feel like I was playing that type of game.
No.
I felt like this was a sad little short story.
Yeah, I was, quite frankly, more enamored with looking at the family as they existed before Evie came and, perverted them. Yeah. Right? I wanted to explore this familiar place that was in a different condition.
I did not want to push on the seams of what was possible in a game necessarily.
Right.
But if you do that, you get the passcode. You can go up to the crawl space there. You get a lockpick, which then opens a drawer in the bathroom, which has a button inside.
Mm-hmm.
The button goes into one of Lucas's trophies when you go up to his room, which gets you into the attic.
Right.
To his weird little secret lair.
Right. Where he let one of his friends die.
Yeah.
Forced him to starve to death. Yes.
Yeah.
But you go to his laptop and he has his fuck you list on there. Jack hit him for using his phone at the dinner table. Not great parenting, one would imagine.
No.
And he also he says fuck you to Zoe for catching him creeping on her when she's doing her yoga. So fuck you, Lucas. You perv.
Fuck you, incest.
Yeah.
Incest millennial Lucas. Really got the lid off. So eventually you get a note about how Jack put a bunch of his stuff in a box on the veranda. So that with that, armed with that knowledge, and again, the way it's arbitrary is like the knowledge changes reality.
Yeah. It makes you able to go back there and look at and examine that box. Yeah.
Yeah. So the DLC goes as normal, but when you're running from Jack, you can grab the dog head from that box. And instead of going out through the garage in the car, which is a non-starter, you go out the front door.
Right.
In the main hall.
Mm-hmm. To get to the trailer, where they had put up Mia. Right. Yeah. They had found Mia first. She's no longer there. But there is a note that Mia has left, basically saying, hey, you need to run, forget about me, forget you ever saw me. If you find this little girl, do not have anything to do with her. Because by the time you know something's wrong, it is too late. And there's this garbled bit about a vaccine. And this note is actually attached to or sitting alongside the D005 sample, the mummified child body that you end up using in the main game to synthesize the cure.
Then as you're looking at this, the lighter blows out. You turn around, Mia grabs you, and you wake up at the table. It's animated now instead of a still shot, where everything seems normal. Like it seems like it's a dream. Yeah. Yeah. Just,
they're just Lucas is still being a shit, but Marguerite is not vomiting bugs and Jack is not cutting himself.
Yes.
But they're just talking about, the storm was so big. We're going to have to go check out the boathouse, et cetera, et cetera. Just seems normal. But then Evelyn appears, kind of in the background, like a Ringu, and says, hello, sister. And that's the end. This is the slowly deteriorating hell that Zoe lives through for 3 years until we find her.
Until you abandon her.
Yeah,
but she has a happy ending for reasons I don't like. So,
until you abandon her on an airboat.
Yeah. Don't worry, though. Everything works out okay for Zoe for some reason.
Yeah.
Because the series forgot what kind of series it is.
Yeah.
So good, really sad. But the lack of kind of scope of this is key to it being good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It being... This just wants to tell a little bit of story and give you a little bit of extra background.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
There was a danger in this, right? Like, if you can't satisfactorily do the explanation, just leave it ambiguous, right? Like, okay, you have enough information in the main game to understand that they have been, co-opted and things, were not like this before. I feel like it's admirable that they give you this information, that they show you the origin, and it still lands as emotionally true.
Yeah. They do a great job before they lost their fucking mind.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, really good. It's still though, it's not my favorite DLC because the next one is.
Yes.
I think this is wildly creative, and I would take a game that was like 20 of these in an instant.
Yes.
So that moves us on to Bedroom. We get a couple DLCs starring Clancy. You remember Clancy, the name no one has?
Clancy Wiggum.
Yeah, the comedy name that they used in the 50s.
Says Gary.
Yeah, no, I know, but I know that we're dying out. I'm a shiny Pokemon. Clancy, though, that's yesterday's breakfast. So this is the cameraman who shot the videos that we found in the game, part of the Gator Hunters, the Gator crew, Swamp Hunters.
Yeah.
And this is the beginning of his hell.
Yeah. Well, the beginning of his hell was the tape you found in the guest house. Yeah. But it continues. So he has been captured. Okay. and he is under Marguerite's sway. Marguerite is trying to bring him into the family. And by bring him into the family, we mean force him to eat this tainted meat that will, infect him as the molded.
Yeah. Which again, just Resident Evil 7, best in the business for food you don't want to eat.
Yep.
In general, just in terms of unappetizing games, they do such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the anti-Breath of the Wild in that respect.
A lot of goat butter.
Yeah, exactly. So you're talking to him, you get this option, where you can either kind of push back or you can compliment how good the food looks. If you don't compliment it, you take damage. There's no combat in this. Damage doesn't matter. It's just using the cadence of video games to express an idea. I really like that.
It's possible to die. I think if you're hit 3 times, you're
really?
gone. Yeah.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you are, shackled to this bed, and Marguerite's like, okay, well, our daughter wants a big brother. If you're going to be family, you got to eat like family.
Yeah. And leaves you there. And rather than going through all the individual steps of this, it's probably best just to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what this is you have to solve an escape room.
Mm-hmm.
This room, they went through the trouble of setting up a series of clues for you, basically a series of locks and keys.
Mm-hmm.
Figure it out. It's very funny. But the gimmick is that a certain amount of time goes by, Marguerite comes back and checks to see it and knows if anything's missing.
Yeah.
And this is so good.
Yeah, you have to cover your tracks, and even if you've done well, Marguerite still acts like something is going to be wrong. Like she will walk up to something that you fixed, and you will live in terror that it will come up wanting, right? Yep. And there's some stuff that you can't put back, right? And just there's a huge oh shit moment, like when you pull out a drawer and it won't go back in. Nope, she's gonna see that. It's
doing an escape room in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
Doing solving and resetting an escape room like a shuttle run, getting a little bit further every time is such a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And just so terrifying, more terrifying than a time limit.
It's more stuff that you have to hold in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, way more stuff you have to hold in your head. A series of small time limits instead of one big time limit.
Yeah.
So it just kind of spreads the tension throughout. I think it's really genuinely genius.
Mm-hmm.
And really, really thrilling. And as a fan of escape rooms, really fun to puzzle out a new twist on escape rooms that I had never seen before. And just genuinely really tense and scary.
Yeah.
One of the things I love is that it continues the idea that I've had for a while that people over at Capcom think tape is something different than it is. Because anytime someone runs up to a taped up thing, they're like, I can't do anything with that without a knife.
Yeah.
On every little bit of tape that has ever been opened by somebody at Capcom, they've used a blade.
I think so.
No one can peel back tape.
Yeah.
Even life or death situations.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, I'm Leon. I'm in the first floor of the police department. I ain't getting through that tape though. No way. I'm a cop. I don't peel tape.
No. Yeah, that is ridiculous. But I do like that you have to explore to such a level of granularity that you have to look behind the desk to get the knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I like the book mechanism with the paintings and things. It would never exist in real life, but it is a great puzzle conceit. The idea that there's the obvious solution that gets you one thing, and then there is the non-obvious solution that is revealed by a note that opens up and gets you something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. I love this was a good opportunity for them to reuse the shadow puzzles.
Mm-hmm. In a cool way, too.
A cool way, yeah. They weren't something phenomenal in the main game. They're a little nonsensical. But get some more use out of it. Mm-hmm. And this is a great. It feels more at home here than it does actually in the game.
Yes.
The idea of imagining the bakers regularly doing that to open things is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of this being part of, and it makes no sense for Marguerite to have that set up here either. Mm-hmm. But having it as part of an escape room construct makes total sense.
Yeah. It rests more easily in this gameplay concept. I also like that there is not just a special wooden sculpture that you find and then use. You actually have to combine things and kind of intuit. How genius is it to use the fork that has the snake design on it to become the Medusa head.
Cobra. The Medusa, the snake head thing in a totally different way than you might expect. Yeah, really good.
Mm-hmm.
So you do all those things eventually, basically trying to get there's a door under your bed, and you're trying to get the snake key to get that. You eventually do it, but Marguerite as a will definitely come back.
Yes.
At no matter what for the end, and you cannot make it out before she catches you.
Right.
So you have to use that knife that you have and stab her in the throat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which buys you enough time to head downstairs, but the room you end up in downstairs is Lucas's workshop, where he's been taking off horse legs.
Yep. Just collecting them.
Yeah.
So that doesn't end well for you, and we'll figure out what happens next.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I really like about Bedroom is it leads really easily into 21, with you going down into Lucas's basement and then ending up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One more thing about Bedroom. So when Marguerite comes back in, for me, it's really funny because a couple of times when I did this, I forgot to reshackle my hands.
Yeah.
But second off, there's one point where she can come in, and say, who's been messing around in here? You can get a free, a free loss, right? Without taking any damage if you blame Lucas for messing around, because she will believe that Lucas did it.
Yeah. Because he's such a shit.
Yep.
Yeah. He can't, there's nobody likes him. So yeah, really, really good. Just really, really creative.
Yeah.
Love it. The Clancy's story kind of continues in the first non-canonical mode.
Right.
Nightmare mode, which is cool. I didn't spend tons of time with this just because I didn't have time to sink into what is essentially an endless mode. Yeah. It's not endless, but it has an endless feel to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It has an end. This is a wave-based, this is like Mercenaries or what have you. This is a wave-based, trap-based basement defense.
Yeah.
Kind of mode.
This is the horde mode, is the common, the common name for it, where you have a number of rounds and you have a kind of currency that you get over time and by killing enemies that you can use to either level up individual items or buy new items. The goal here is you have to survive until dawn in the basement. You start out in the incinerator room and you can open up certain new places to get more items and more resources. But Jack is sending Molded down at you, and the final wave, the boss of that, has you defeating Jack himself.
Yeah. This introduces a lot of traps.
Yes.
To the game, which are, I don't remember them being a part at all of the main game, but I might be misremembering. They're interesting, in this, but it's also something that I didn't fuck around with that much in the time I spent with it, even though it is key to actually beating it. I watched a full playthrough of this.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It is, that's a Resident Evil staple.
Yes.
Right. Since the beginning has been doing stuff like this. And I'm glad that they carried it forward to 7. 7 has a good combat engine.
Yeah. Even though I am not enamored enough of the combat engine to want to do a lot of this.
No, I spent less time on this than I did Mercenaries.
Or Jack's 55th birthday.
No, I didn't spend that much time doing that either.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I meant previous Resident Evil games.
Previous,
Mercenaries mode in 3. Mm-hmm. Which is probably the mode of those I spent the most time with, and then spent quite a bit of time with the Resident Evil 4 one as well.
Yeah.
This one is all right. I spent a little bit more time with Jack's 55th birthday in this one as well, which I think is fun and funny, but also there's only so long wave-based combat is going to appeal to me.
True.
Moving on to another really strong one, I think. 21.
Yeah. So you have gone from Marguerite to Jack to Lucas. And this, you're still
Chronicles continue.
Yeah. And this one segues very nicely into Happy Birthday, as well. But this one is, I think, the biggest gameplay departure for all of these. It still takes place in first person view, but you are strapped into a machine, in Lucas's House of Traps. And you are being forced to play a variant of blackjack against another person, against Hoffman, who is sitting across the table from you. He has a burlap sack over his head, and he is begging you to let him out because he has a wife and kids.
Yep. Tough shit, Hoffman. So it's very similar to blackjack. The difference here is you share one deck that has numbers 1 to 11.
Right.
So that makes a huge difference in blackjack.
Yeah.
Knowing that a number can't repeat. Mm-hmm. It's pretty interesting that this is not only this is pretty slight. It's just a fun little short story. I'm not going to go back to it, right?
Right.
Because it's a scripted ending. Like, it's a game, but also, it has a determined way it'll end. But also just like, wait, they came up with a pretty fun variant of blackjack.
Yeah. Like, I really felt, I mean, it made me feel smart, like saying, okay, like, what are the ranges of possibilities? Like, well, like, what are it's super easy to calculate the odds of what will come up, based on the diminishing number of cards in the deck, but it still feels good. It still feels good to do it.
It's like card counting for beginners.
Yes.
So you're going through it, and the first kind of thing, the first bet, like you have wagers you're doing that are being made for you. You can later manipulate this. Is how many fingers you lose. Like you have your hand in this little like guillotine glove.
I love the guillotine glove. The way that the individual blades like pop up when that finger is being wagered.
Yep. Yeah. And it's so scary too. Like I don't want to lose my fingers. Like,
no.
I feel like out of the things I'm scared of, that could conceivably happen to me.
Lose a finger?
Yeah. A lot of trucking with threshers. Threshing with truckers.
Yeah.
A lot of both those things. Like either one is bound to lose you a finger.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm more worried about losing an eye.
Oh, yeah.
You just like a finger's got a bone in it. Oh, not an eye. You just walk around carrying the wrong thing and you fall down and boom, eye's gone.
You know what the thing that makes me, I had to interrogate that. I just went on a little journey. Like the thing that makes me less scared about losing an eye is I wouldn't have to see it. Like I'm not joking. Like I'd have to look down at my finger and see the tendon and bone.
Okay.
And see the blood. That's terrifying. If I lost an eye, I would never see it. I'm not going to go seek out a mirror. I'd go to the hospital. So I wouldn't have that body. I wouldn't have that shock of like looking and seeing my insides on the outsides.
I strongly disagree with you that would be better. I strongly disagree with you that would make it better, Gary.
I think it would. I think it would for me because I think a big part of my fear is I don't want to see, don't want to see a tendon.
I can understand that, but for me, I don't. For me, I don't think it would make a difference. And I think that if we poll the audience, which would you rather lose, a finger or an eye?
Oh, I'm saying, well, it's not which one would I rather, like in terms of like functionality and stuff. It's that.
Which
It's like which one is scarier?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, to me, like rather like finger because I can get by without,
Yeah.
Depending on the finger.
Mm-hmm. Depending on which trivia questions I need to answer in the near future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And how many fingers?
Oh yeah.
Fuck. I use these things for a lot of things. So you go through eventually you can lose this.
Yes.
But if you win, Hoffman passes out when he loses all his fingers. And you think you won, but he wakes up and asks for another round. And Lucas this whole time is fucking with you.
Yeah.
Just like, we'll let you go if you win. And he's like, I'd like another round. He's like, well, you heard the man.
Yep.
Like, Hoffman's the boss.
Hoff's the boss. Just let me knock you out and then come down and set up a terrifying new machine, which is it takes the guillotine glove and adds electric shocks to it.
Yeah.
There are, I think, 10 or 11 levels of shock. And that's what you're wagering. It goes up every single hand. But you get special cards, that can change the bet for either you or for your enemy, for Hoffman.
But not just change the bet, but also give you different cards.
Yes.
So like this card is worth a guaranteed 3. You hold this as a separate hand. You have your blackjack hand, but then you have these, you each get a special card.
Yeah.
You don't know what your opponent has. Mm-hmm. And they have these special effects. And this is, again, a really cool blackjack thing.
It really is.
We do improve blackjack.
And it plays with the limited deck really well because, even if a 3 will not benefit you, you can use it to check to see if the enemy has a 3 because it can't draw a 3 that Hoffman's already holding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So really, really neat. And they're pretty creative, like the benefit cards. They're not like, your opponent has to, play the rest of the game without saying words of the letter E or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like it'll be like, add to your opponent's bet, double your opponent's bet. Like if you think you're pretty win. Mm-hmm. I love undo a card.
Yep.
Because so much of blackjack is about like, like blackjack, whenever they show in movies, it's like, oh yeah, everyone's got a face card showing. So it's just going to be one hand. But I've definitely done blackjack where it's like both players just creeping up with 2s and 3s.
Yep.
It's so like weird and unsatisfying.
Yeah.
And this is, when you're doing that creep thing and your opponent outmaneuvers you, you can take back your cards. You're no longer set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Undo things they do. It's really good.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like if you know that you have a killer hand, quite literally, you can just, max out the bet and screw the enemy. The enemy. God, I'm playing right into Lucas's hands.
His name is Hoffman.
His name is Hoffman. Yeah, you can.
Kyle, he needs to get away from him.
Yeah, so. But you can Rafflock Hoffman because the maximum voltage on this will kill you. It is a lethal dose.
Yeah. So eventually you win, or you lose, right?
Well,
But
yeah.
if you win, then Hoffman dies. He gets electrocuted. And then Lucas, because he's, a sadist fuck, makes Hoffman, shocks his body. He's like, oh, there's still some life in that boy yet, and shocks him so he moves around.
Yep.
And then starts doing an impersonation of him saying he wants another round, which is funny.
Yep.
Like it is funny and good and charismatic of Lucas, even though he's a huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like it is still pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. The lights go out. It comes back up. Hoffman has been rigged up like a marionette.
Yep.
Lucas will be speaking for him. Oh, gee, I guess I'll pull.
Yeah.
He makes us a draw card.
Yep. Two, please. I'll hit.
And the death trap this time, it is a spinning saw made of knives that starts out equidistant between the two of you. And winning and losing, the bet is the distance that it moves toward the loser.
Yeah. Yep. This goes on for a while, but regardless of what happens, here's where it just goes into its pre-constructed ending.
Yeah.
Is the hand before it ends, you get a card called Love Your Enemy, which makes your opponent get the best card possible that they would need. Lucas cheats.
Yeah.
He increases the bet to 100, gives himself a perfect hand. So you think that he's going to win, and then the puzzle, even though it's incredibly obvious, is do the Love Your Enemy thing, which gives him a card, which makes him bust.
Yes. Which, would be, a triumph, right? Like, okay, Lucas has demonstrated I'm never getting out of here. But, I think Clancy even says, take that, you fuck, or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is made horrifying again, which you think, okay, I'm going to watch this saw blade chop up a dead body. And that's kind of lame. And it's a bummer to see. However, Hoffman, as the machine is spinning up, stirs and wakes up, and it turns out that he was just kind of knocked out by the electricity. The knife is going to be what kills him as it churns him into hamburger. And the special prize that you win for winning 3 rounds is another game.
Yep. Nonstop games.
Yep.
Hooray.
Yeah. And this takes you to the escape room from the main game, the happy birthday one.
Yes, which you burn alive at the end of.
Oh, yeah.
So it's, out of all those ways you could have died, maybe the chainsaw to the face would have been the best one.
Yeah.
Lean into it, maybe, it'd be over quick.
Mm-hmm. The electric shock probably would have been okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could see either way. I mean, the lead up to it would be tough.
Yes.
Yeah. There's the progressively increasing shocks. That's all it for the first kind of series of DLCs. We're moving into the big ones. First one we're going to talk about is Not a Hero. As we mentioned earlier, this was outsourced to Hexadrive. So go Hexadrive.
Yeah. And it's fine. The thing that I don't like about this, bringing it, just gonna put a banner up here, is that it crimps off, it ties up a loose end that I didn't want tied up.
I think it ties it up in a really dumb way too.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm very disappointed for Lucas, who is the most compelling villain that Resident Evil has had.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm putting him above Wesker.
Yep.
Because Wesker eventually became a vampire and it was fucking dumb. Wesker eventually became Resident Evil 5 ruined Wesker.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas was really interesting, and he turns into a G-type monster at the end.
Yes.
Like he turns into a Birkin and you kill him that way.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I just, there was a lack of Resident Evil style Resident Evil monsters in 7,
mm-hmm.
right? Like the Jack fight is more of a set piece thing. Mm-hmm. The Marguerite thing is more of an environmental challenge with her kind of stalking you. There weren't a lot of boss fights that were just, hey, empty your bullets into a giant monster in front of you.
Yeah.
But the secret is that was good.
Yes.
Because those boss fights have never been great.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even great in 2, which I love or the remake of 2,
mm-hmm. which
I love that, but the boss fights are not great shakes in that.
Yeah, they're real weak.
Yeah. They're real weak. Like it is, they're fun for nostalgia, but they're not good.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just, the series has never really been good. The Marguerite fight I think is genuinely great.
Yes.
In this game, but that's, even the Jack fight's not super great.
Mm-hmm.
This is worse. It's an interesting character. They make him not interesting by making him turn to a monster.
Yes.
So yeah, I think this is pretty weak. I think that I don't like the other one either, though. I think you like it a little bit more than me, which is fine, it's good. But to me, it feels like they both wrapped up loose ends I didn't need to have wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it weirdly makes me look forward to RE8 less now that I know that Lucas is not still in play.
Yeah. Well, and not for me now that I know that Zoe is in play.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe the brother is in play. Like, what is this fucking like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen style new umbrella that we're going to get? Like, that's perhaps like too much towards. So one of the things about both these DLCs, and it applies more to End of Zoe, but applies to Not a Hero 2, that I think is worth mentioning, is that like Resident Evil 7, in a lot of ways, was the first Resident Evil that you could take 100% seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was funny.
Yep.
There were funny bits to it. It was a little bit outsized, but it was genuinely really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no so bad it's good dialogue. There were no like alphabet soup viruses.
Yeah.
You know, like later it gets a little up its lore once you find out what the molded are.
Mm-hmm.
But for most of the game, it is a straight horror putt that is just really effective and straight-laced and invited you to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. And has a tragedy at its core.
A tragedy at its core, like does everything I want from a good horror story. Both of these DLCs kind of feel like they're making fun of me for taking the main game seriously.
Yeah.
You know, this one for being like, oh, you thought you were away from traditional Resident Evil lore.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one for taking anything seriously.
Yeah.
Because we live in a magical world where like you eat grubs to get your health back and you punch out zombies. Like we don't live in the real world. Like this is not grounded, is what the second one communicates to me. So both of them feel like they weaken the main product to me.
Yeah.
While being degrees of fun on their own.
Yeah.
This one less than the second one. The second one is more fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like End of Zoe is more fun to play. Neither of which is so fun to play as I think that they make up for the damage they do to the main game and the plot.
Yeah. Yeah. They make me wish that they were like what if scenarios, like the DLC that we got for RE2.
And and for this.
Yeah.
Like we got magical DLCs.
Mm-hmm.
We got multiple endings on Daughters where it's like there's a canon one and there's a non-canon one. We got Jack's Birthday Party, which is an arcade, like a Sega arcade mode.
Mm-hmm.
For something like that. Like we got Goofy.
Yeah.
DLCs. These could have been what if scenarios or DLCs, or taken this content, put it in a better, different, like saved it.
Yeah. It's telling that they have you play as a character from the old series. In the DLC that feels most like the old series. You are playing as Chris, and I think that was the main selling point for this. I put selling point in quotes because, well, you didn't see that because, quote unquote selling point.
I heard them.
Yeah. No, I put that in quotes because it was free DLC. I was excited. Like, okay, what does it look like to play as Chris in this world? And what it feels like is a very stock standard RE kind of deal. Like
a slow FPS.
Yes.
Like I like the combat in Resident Evil 7, but I think that Not a Hero and the Tinker chapter both teach you that like it doesn't work as a pure action experience.
No.
And Chris, I gotta say, man, like as the series continues, I like Chris less and less. Like he is a lot more fun in his early incarnations than he is from Resident Evil 6 on.
Yeah.
Like Beef Boy Chris is not super interesting to me.
No. PTSD Chris, they don't even treat that very well. It's played almost entirely like I lost my men. And here that is played up to 11 like it's a fucking joke. How many squads of people have you lost, Chris?
Yeah, how many people were alive in the BSSA before you got here today, right. Chris? So it's not only did they take an old Resident Evil character, but they also took the most generic of them. And he wasn't always generic, he became generic. Mm-hmm. He became the Beef Boy.
Yeah. But the main game ends with, Ethan being cradled by Chris. He has come in to rescue the interesting character and take over.
Yep. Yeah. I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
Which I mean, also too, real quick, how it's good in Resident Evil 7 when that happens, because it's shocking to have the game connected to the real Resident Evil verse. Like that is the most like promise I felt for Resident Evil 8, and just feeling like, oh geez, like they are going to tie all this up. Like it's just this tantalizing hint, and then having him go on this mission. Yeah, like I was like, oh, that's what that was, though. Actually, like that's what I was hoping for without even knowing it.
It's Operation A Lurking Fear. Yeah, which takes place after the main game. The only Baker who is unaccounted for is Lucas. And we do not really know anything about the people who Lucas was working for.
Other than that, they're called the Connections, which that's a draft name.
Yeah.
Is this on loan from the Kojima collection? Like
the Connection sounds like a Motown band that all like didn't really make it.
Yeah.
Hi, we're
like
the Connections.
A 1998 period drama.
Oh yeah.
Like a DVD double pack with the Ice Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Operation Lurking Fear, because of the tunnels underneath the area full of monsters, right? Like
yes.
the Martin's Mansion. That's a Lovecrafty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though this is not expressed that way at all.
No.
Starts off with you don't know who it is.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's getting a phone call from the fucking company is what their caller ID is. It turns out it's Lucas, incredibly sweaty. And he's like, I can't help it, man. We got work to do. Continuing through these tunnels, just kind of setting up the location and our target.
Yeah.
And then Chris walks into the tunnels, puts on his Doom helmet. And because it's Chris or Leon or any Resident Evil male protagonist, you have a constant female handler who's there. And we find out our handler is New Umbrella.
Yeah.
AKA Blue Umbrella, AKA Good Umbrella.
Yes. The umbrella that is a private military corporation. So they're good.
Yeah, PMCs are good in this world for some reason. Tape is strong. PMCs are good. According to Capcom.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me. Like, I love the idea of Umbrella not rebranding.
Uh-huh.
Like, what a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, no.
We're just Parasol now.
Safsprin.
Aquacure.
Like, Aquacure, Safsprin. Like, it's not, we weren't the zombie ones. We're trying to undo that. Oh, you mean like the BSSA? Who? Yeah, I know. Nobody played those games. Fuck. And then it's so silly. And Chris also thinks it's dumb, but he's still their employee.
Yeah.
He's just like grumbled his way through the whole interview process, like grumbly, like filled in an application, did a cranky interview and got hired.
Yeah. And like he was brought in as like the one man who is able to deal with uncertain, dangerous situations with bioweapons, etc. Yeah. He's the wolf that they call in to clean this up. Yeah, it is very weird that they did not rebrand. I agree. But yeah, so some of Chris's colleagues died, or they're unaccounted for down here in the mines. And the initial goal is to find their bodies and complete their work.
Yeah. Which is to kill Lucas or apprehend Lucas. They need him alive because of his connections to
the Connections.
Because he has a copy of the Connections on Blu-ray.
Yes.
So he kind of comes in. You start with a semi-auto pistol, but back from 6 is stunning enemies. So like if you hit them in the knee or hit them in the head and cause them to stagger, you can go up and do a roundhouse. Yeah,
this ends up being really useful for saving ammo.
Yeah, and crowd control. Mm-hmm. Like this is great in general. Like whenever a Resident Evil game allows you to do this, you should do it.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, you've got this, Mega Science helmet, that gives you a heads up display, etc. It does not look like any Resident Evil game I've seen before. It's very strange. But yeah, you find this soldier down here warns you saying like, hey, leave me. Like you're standing here. It's too late. He has a strange collar on. He is sitting next to, another deceased soldier. But the soldier gets up, boom, it's Lucas. Boom, because he slaps a bomb bracelet on you and detonates the other soldiers while he's walking away.
Yeah. And basically says, like, I have this thing, this bracelet on you. I will blow you up if you keep following me. Mm-hmm. Why Lucas would keep you alive after he leaves the room, no idea. They never really square that circle.
Nope.
Like, he is somebody who likes games and stuff, but this is explicitly him being beyond games and kind of desperate and everything. And he also is somebody who, like, doesn't play by the rules of games when it doesn't suit him.
Yeah.
This introduces it is a mechanic of this, but it is a weirdly utilized one. I
mean, it's just another kind of lock and key.
Yeah. It plays like it's going to be more important than it is, I think, or it presents as being more important, is that some areas have these spores. They're very polluted. So your suit switches to an oxygen tank, which is hilariously small.
Yep.
It is, you have a tank, this huge tank on your back that allows you to breathe comfortably for 45 seconds.
Yeah. Well, that tank, there's a little bit of oxygen, but most of the room is there for Gatorade. You got to refuel on the go.
Exactly. And his urine. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't stop to take a piss. He just pisses in the suit.
He's in a still suit, but it's a really bad still suit.
Yeah. It doesn't turn the urine into Gatorade like you want.
Like you want.
Yeah, like you would, like you want.
Like you want.
Yeah. So you kind of go through here, and initially I was a little bummed out because the spores meant I couldn't, like, I wanted to look around this environment that I'd been in and see if anything changed, similar to Daughters. And then I realized, like, oh, this isn't a DLC about an environment.
No.
Like, there's not one cool environment in this DLC.
No.
It's not about that. So you just kind of rush through until you get to a section with clear air, and you kind of learn a little bit about this mechanic, which is basically just there are areas you'll have to rush through. And they use that for a couple of ambushes, but they don't do a lot with it.
Right.
Including the next area, which is full of the spores. You rush through, and there's a cheeky little ambush right next to the elevator. But you take that out, and then you get on the elevator, and the air clears, and you start talking to your operator.
Right. Yeah. And this is where you get some of the background that, hey, the BSAA is still a thing. You were contracted by the new umbrella. Basically, nobody left from the old organization is there. This is all new people who want to help clear up the name. The name is toxic. Get rid of it.
It's not all new people.
No,
she explicitly says some of the people were around from
gotcha,
the battle days, which is crazy. Like you don't forgive the collaborators.
You should be in prison.
The disaster. Yeah, like these people, like, why are they free?
Yeah.
Why are they walking free? I just don't understand. Like, it's a real weird line for Chris to either, like, he just goes all in on it because he knows something I don't know, or he wouldn't go in on it. But this weird, like, I'll do it, but I don't like it, is really strange. It's fucking Umbrella, man.
Yeah.
You know?
They're responsible for terrible things happening in the world. They ruined your life.
Yeah, death count in the the tens or tens of thousands conservatively.
Yes.
You know? Well, if you take Raccoon City into account,
millions.
You know, yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, and also, I mean, as you look at the knock-on effects, you know, millions of people died in RE6. You know, just an attack on an extremely populated Chinese city.
Yep.
Yeah.
Geez, Chris. So you get down to this, like, kind of hub area in this big mining facility. It has this huge round vault door, and there's a little, like, Joker panel that you have to put a Joker key into. Introducing your kind of three struts here. And there's some mild Metroidvania elements where you have to go down, like, go partway down one to unlock another one, etc. We should just tackle them in order. Yeah. Even though there's a little bit of back and forth.
Yeah. So the only one you can get through, the only one that is not blocked by spores and not blocked by darkness, you know, is the red shutter. You go down this first one, and there's an umbrella soldier who is tied up inside of a cell. I don't know why he says, hey, the room is rigged to blow, just leave me. He waits until you are right next to him to say that, which is very dumb.
I always feel like that has to be like Lucas having leverage on them or something, but it never actually happens.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Like Lucas, like, oh, I've got your family, or I don't know. Like, I always felt like there's some reason why these people are just so willingly bait in this game, you know, including the first guy. Like, it's like, oh, we'll kill you if you don't say this to Chris.
Yeah. I don't think that it's thought through that much.
I don't think so either.
No. But the goal for this strut is to get the key to free him.
So you go down to this, like, little area that is a very explicit and kind of welcome, like, combat arena. Yeah. Like, with, you know, ammo sprinkled about it, different angles of entry, but no way to have your back completely safe.
A few like one-way drops in the circular arena. It's good design.
Yeah, good design. And the combat in Resident Evil 7 is fun.
Yes.
You know, as much as I think that it doesn't stand on its own, but it is fun to engage with.
This feels more empowering than the tanker section. I feel like that the tanker section was a little bit to give you some catharsis in shooting down the molded. That never really worked for me because the tanker was too much of a slog. Here, it works for me to, you know, just be mowing through the molded like this.
Yeah. And at some point we got the shotgun in here.
Yeah.
As well. But we're introduced to a new enemy. There are two new enemies in this DLC. This is another giant molded called a Mama Molded.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is you went into the giant one before this though. The Mama Molded shows up where we need the special ammo, but maybe this is when we come back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. We're introduced to the Mama Molded, which are these ones that are kind of leaking this fluid. They regenerate too quickly, so we need to get ramrods. Which are special bullets that kill Mama Moldeds. Yeah,
they're like antifungal bullets that halt the regeneration. With regular molded, it will just it's a one shot kill. With the Mama Molded, so you have to shoot them with this and then switch over to a different gun or different kind of ammo to continue doing damage to them.
Alan Wake vibes.
Yes. which is I like that here. Like here in a small dose as a like an extra little ritual you have to do in combat. Neat. Yeah, but it is walking around. The reason it's called the Mama Molded is it is the source of one of these other monsters you're going to get, which are these little fungus facehuggers.
Yeah, I forgot about those guys.
Yeah,
the third thing.
Yeah.
So you get the key. You head back to the cell here, and the soldier then when you get close to him, he says, "I was bait," and and then the spores flood the room, and then Lucas sends his spinning blade down to decapitate the soldier, and the spores are going to kill you, so you have to take the enhanced filter off his head. Again, giving this weird kind of vague Metroidvania vibe to this.
Yeah. So you can go more places now. The green shutter, which was previously blocked off by these very thick spores, you can now explore. I believe, I can't remember because I played this too long ago. I believe that this gets rid of the time limit.
Yeah. And that's no longer a concern at all.
Yeah.
Like I thought it would be like, oh, when it's super moldy, I'd have a time limit. When it was only a little moldy, I'd get nothing. But no, it just gets rid of it.
Yes.
So
gone.
Here in these storage tunnels, these absurdly linear storage tunnels that go on forever.
Yeah. It's storage tunnels, catacombs is how this is designed.
There are these white regenerated moldeds here. This is before you get the Rambo or the ramrod ammo. So you, cause this is what I thought you were talking about with the Mama Molded earlier, is these white guys. I can't remember what these guys are called.
Yeah. The Mama Molded have the white mold on them as well. That's just a general signifier that says, hey, you need the ramrod, you need the antifungal rounds. But
they're the big ones as well.
Yeah.
That is so here, this is very frustrating because the white ones come out of the ground. You have to backtrack until they just disappear.
Yes.
Like they just go away, and that's so counterintuitive to me in a game that is largely about pursuit. Like in the past, the molded would disappear, like if you go into a safe room or something like that, you'd watch them dissolve, but there's no reason for them to stop chasing you here. But the way that you go through this is you walk forward until you hear the music for one of these things and you see it pop up. You run back the hallway, like 3 corners back, you wait until the music stops and you go forward, and that thing just never existed.
Yeah.
It's really unsatisfying and counterintuitive to me.
Yeah.
Like probably my least favorite segment in this DLC. And it goes on for fucking ever.
It goes on for a very long time.
Long set of tunnels.
Yeah.
I think you do 3 of these little white molded fake out things.
Yeah, you do a couple of them. Like you go in, you follow the linear maze to its logical conclusion. You get the night vision mod for your helmet. And then you end up going back through the same hallways again, but you are coming at particular doors from a different direction, which lets you take a different path through them. So it feels much longer than it actually is because you are doubling back over geometry that you've already been on. Yeah.
It also introduces the turrets. As you're heading your way, you're on your way out.
Yes. The trick for these is you have to duck beneath them to stay beneath the line of sight.
Yeah. You can also knock them over with grenades.
Oh yeah.
Half-Life 2 style.
Yeah. But you get back through, you need to wait for an elevator to come by, and you're swarmed by these small fungal facehuggers. I never found a very good way to deal with them. Fortunately, this is the only set piece where they become a real factor. Yeah. But now we have the night vision, and we can go through the blue or black shutter. I couldn't decide what it was.
Yeah. I couldn't really tell the difference between these very well either because it's a light. So it's kind of tricky.
Yeah.
This is the dark wing, but now that it is no longer dark, you can make your way through here, but it's filled with traps, which is the reason why you couldn't stumble around in the dark.
Yeah. Specifically these flame jets on the floor, these plates on the floor that will cook you. So you got to avoid those. And you get down to this weird, what feels like it would be a top-down puzzle room. With these mine carts that you have to push in the right order. Some of them are full of bagged meat and viscera, in order to break your way forward. And we also get our bloated exploding molded, which is another new enemy. These kind of suicide bomber ones.
Yeah. That poop pop out here.
Yeah.
When you get down, you find the mechanical clown from his first escape room. He saved him.
Yep.
Which I'm glad. Has the clown key. which you can pick up the Joker key, and you expect it to hurt you. It does not, but a white molded burst in that you have to use a ramrod on. Ramrods are fairly rare in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you could I think you can run away from all these things. You can't actually screw yourself by using up all your ramrods, but not best practices to get ramrodded here.
Nope.
And on your way out, you reach this room full of laser traps. That is like something from like a Deus Ex game or something.
Yeah.
Like going up and down these ramps and through these tunnels and stuff, avoiding all these trip mines. With one of your men, who's extremely important to you, as Chris Redfield, in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this feels like a gotcha too, because what you are inclined to do first is going to get you killed. And it almost feels like you have to do that to understand that you need to go beyond him. So if you go up and inspect the tied up person in the laser room,
you don't even have to press a button.
No.
If you just get close to him, you get drawn into his gravity.
Yep. That is dumb.
Yeah, that sucks. And then when you die, so you do that, you check out the guy, and then Lucas turns all the lasers on you and blows you up. Then you reload and you get a tooltip that said it's always best practices to secure your men or secure the traps before rescuing your men. And I'm like, best practices?
Yeah.
Like, this is the last man. there's we're going to go fight Lucas after this. You're a DLC, my friend. There are no best practices here.
No.
And all of this like Metroidvania stuff you've been having me do makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just keys.
Yeah.
It is pretty dumb.
It's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this time you turn off the traps, and you attempt to get out with him. But before you can do it, he blows your buddy's collar and activates your wrist bomb timer.
Yes.
So could have done that very early on.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it now.
Yes. So the wrist bomb timer, you have 10 minutes, which seems extremely generous in this hour-long DLC.
Yeah.
But you have the clown key and you have a wrist that's going to blow up. So you need to go through and look for some liquid nitrogen that you can use to deactivate the bomb. Mm-hmm. This is behind the red shutters clown door, the path you need to go through. The green clown door actually takes you to a couple of upgrades that you can get. Your stabilizers and things like that. If you decide to head that way, it makes sense to do that after you get rid of the bomb, but it's there.
I did not know that was there. I think I missed that clown door.
Yeah, each of the hallways has a clown door. Yeah. But you have this 10-minute
time. The most beautiful set of words in the English language.
Each of the hallways has a clown door.
Clown door. Clown door.
Yeah. But this is fairly tense because you get to a point where you can't proceed because you have to fight and kill one of the mama molded, this thing that was unbeatable before. And it didn't leave me with very much time. It's a cool arena. Like you have a truck in the middle of it that you can run around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which you kind of need to for any kind of classic Resident Evil boss. Like you need it to not have straightaways on you.
Yeah.
After you kill him, you go and you plunge your hand in liquid nitrogen to freeze the bomb off. Mm-hmm. And then it starts again and you throw it because we're in action movie cliche time, even though it's somehow not fun. Fun, not just like to play, but just fun. Like, throwing the bomb seconds before it goes off does not read like fun parody or like fun over the topness to me.
Yeah.
We go through our last Joker door. In the beginning, which opens up this like Fallout vault door. Yeah,
it's like a shield device is what they call it. I have no idea what this would actually be in a mine.
No idea. Yeah, it does not feel like very actual miney.
Yeah.
And you get inside, and we have our wave-based combat for this thing. Lucas is like, hey, soldier man, here's a bunch of molded for you. And then just tosses wave after wave of molded at you. And you start off on this like pretty narrow. Like, this is actually a really difficult arena.
Yeah. You have like stairways, 10 feet you can run.
Yeah, you're really small arena. You have 2 stairways where you can get some elevation, but both of which you can't get around anything on them. Mm-hmm. Very, very difficult.
Yeah. No, you just have to hold your ground and hope that you can survive the wave until he opens up more of the capsule to run around in. I do enjoy that Chris has run out of patience at this point. He says, if you're going to kill me, then just kill me. But for the love of God, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Which is the only reasonable response to Lucas. But yeah, this is a tough combat section. Eventually more of the capsule does open up for you. And this concludes with Lucas getting ready to blow the entire thing up, to fill it with flames, and you end up having to escape out of a grate on the floor.
Yep. So you escape on the grate, and you find out from your handler that Lucas sent an email to his employers, which I don't exactly understand how we're monitoring his email, but we still need to get the data from the files or whatever.
Yeah.
It feels like we have access, but he said, he sent he sends an email right away as well.
Yeah.
I gotta log on to AOL and email my employers that Chris Redfield is dead. Email alert set up for Chris Redfield dying.
How much data do you have left in your data plan? I'm out of minutes. I need to.
I need to go log on to a dial-up.
Yeah.
So this is like, and this is also again kind of dumb because it's like he knows that he thinks I'm dead. We can use that to our advantage.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean when you immediately walk up to him and reveal yourself?
Yeah.
Like in 2 seconds?
Yep. Yeah.
Super silly.
Something I do think is cool. You get through the shield device and you walk into like a nice lab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Resident Evil lab time.
Mm-hmm.
An abbreviated version.
Yes. There's an examination room here where you can tell that they had been working with Evie and the fungus in general. You can tell this because Grandma's old wheelchair is here, and also some of the old dolls. And there's a photo of Evie with Mia, so she had spent some time here, being poked and prodded by Lucas.
Yeah. Yep. And we're getting some more backstory here. Like the researchers are really upset because they just like installed this hayseed as the head researcher.
Not just this hayseed, but this this sadistic fuck who immediately stops all of the legit research on this. The connections is evil, but stops all of the research that would have been effective and just like has molded fights. He brings people in to fight the molded.
Kind of relatable. Like I would make the molded fight each other, but like, kind of relatable in general. Like if I got stuck there, I got quantum leaped into it. Lucas,
oh boy,
I'd probably do that. So the you go up to him and you can kind of catch him off guard, but no matter what happens, like you're not using the advantage of surprise here. He's sending out the E-series data, but he runs. And the way after him is blocked by a turret. So you're always slowed down. Getting this element of surprise means nothing. He killed all the researchers that were part of the connections.
Yeah.
After the turret runs out of ammo, or if you throw a grenade to knock it over, you follow Lucas into this research depot, and it is time for boss fight.
Yes, time for just a basic ass Resident Evil style boss fight.
Yeah.
So you walk in and Lucas gets the drop on you, just kind of jumps on your back and tries to bring you down. Bad idea because Chris has a ramrod ammo, which will interfere with, Lucas's fungus abilities. Remember that Lucas had, broken free of Evie's control. The connections had helped him do that, but he still had some of the regeneration stuff, built into him. The ramrod round causes him to kind of mutate into a kind of soup, like he dissolves. And Chris blacks out and you wake up and Lucas is a big old testicle hanging from the ceiling that gives birth to something that is just straight up a G-type tyrant.
Yeah. Like the one thing I like about it is I like that Lucas, when it happens, he's like, oh, so this is what that feels like.
Yes.
Because he's seen it, he knows that this is a thing. He knew it was on the cards. But it is a really uninspired design.
Yeah. And
turning this cerebral villain into a fight of the Beef Boys is really disappointing.
Yeah.
It's like a hard fight, and the kind of trick, it feels like a very standard Resident Evil fight with 2 gimmicks. One being that, there's always a big central thing you can run around in these fights. In this one, he can jump up onto it and kind of short circuit the pathfinding that you put him through. The other one is that the molds start coming through and you have to get oxygen.
Right.
From these little corner fill-up stations.
Yeah.
And that's the fight. Other than that, it's just emptying ammo, doing your best to avoid and block.
Yeah.
And not get killed.
Yeah. If you have ramrod rounds, it will stun him and expose his heart. Again, straight up just like a tyrant. The only cool thing about his design is that you can see a suggestion of his old face. Like his facial structure is kind of built into it. That is most apparent when you have him downed. And the cutscene where he dies is going through. But yeah, there's very little that is good about that is inspiring about the fight or the design. It feels like a return to form, but it is a return to a form that we were happy to see them wander away from.
It's like a return. It's not even it's like a retread of the form.
Yeah. Like
return to form implies like going back onto a track they were on, but further along it. This is not further along the track. This is way back on the track. It is a huge regression to the form. And it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chris says game over and blasts Lucas's mutative face. Incredibly dumb. Don't stop saying game over.
Yeah, it's especially when the game master explicitly did not play a game with you with this. They're like, he's over at the computer, like, you have to stop the data transfer of the e-data by our hackers are working on it, and then he shoots the server and is like, our hackers are gonna be upset. They'll get over it. Yeah. And it's just like, why isn't this fun? Like, why isn't that fun dialogue? Why isn't this Doom 2016?
Yeah.
Where like that stuff works. Like somebody short circuiting the cliche is like works.
Well, I also like, it reveals something about the new Umbrella. The fact that they wanted to preserve all of the E series data instead of get rid of it. Chris is in the right here. It should be to, be like, nobody should be able to use this.
They should say it. Yeah. Like I'm not saying I need everything spelled out for me. I don't necessarily like. I think you're right, but it
feels like it could have been.
That's not the
underlined.
semiotics of the scene.
Yeah,
the semiotics of the scene is he's a badass who doesn't play by the rules. It's not he made a calculating move because he doesn't trust his employers. And that the second one is way cooler than the first one, but we don't get that. You know, like even if that's ultimately what happened and he is in the right, like it doesn't read as a considered move. It reads as like action hero impatient, shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
that sucks. That's just like less interesting.
But this ends with Chris going back to the packed up mansion. He is looking at a photo of the Bakers, contemplating better villains than he encountered in this. And Umbrella comes down and says the mold has been contained, when categorically, no, it has not.
Yeah, that mold's still about, friend.
Yeah. And all we have to do is play the next DLC to learn that.
Yeah, even though at the end of that, it does everything is fine.
Yeah.
Basically. The next one is End of Zoe.
End of Zoa.
End of Zoa. That's how the hillbilly superhero that we get to play as in this says it. Even though American English say Zoe.
Yes.
Zoe of Enders. This is much more fun to play.
Yes.
While making me a little bit angrier because it takes any sense of stakes and drama in the main game and crumbles it into a ball and throws it back in my face.
Yes.
I feel explicitly made fun of by this DLC.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you take Resident Evil seriously, you idiot. It was always a joke. It was always a B movie. Why did you care?
Yeah. And also it does that while, kind of signaling to you that this is drama that should be taken seriously. You had left Zoe for dead. You find her and she is transformed. She's on her last legs. The stakes are that you have to save this one person. And you are going to deal with Jack again in this, spoiler for the reveal.
Which also should not have happened.
Yep.
Like the whole reason why Zoe was in this circumstance is because we only had those 2 cures. A big part of the main game was getting one of those cures. We used one on fucking Jack.
Yes.
It should not have happened that he can come back. Like, this breaks its rules tonally and logistically in a way that does immeasurable damage to Resident Evil 7.
Yeah. Like, I wish that this was a Gaiden thing because it's really fun to play. And there are moments where I was laughing out loud at what it had to do. Yeah.
It's funny. It's like really funny. But I kept thinking the same reason, like, it's a different way of when I was playing through the Chris one, I kept thinking, like, why isn't this fun? Here I was like, why isn't this just funny? Why isn't this good? Like, it's funny and it feels like I should just be like, I think that something I don't know how to express it, but something that I've noticed when I examine when my opinions are separate from others, my peers and everything, is that there is a tendency, and this is just a different way of looking at things. There's no judgment in this, of some people where they just want things to be out there. It doesn't matter what it is or what form that takes. It's just a level of the extremeness that something can be out there.
Yeah. See, whenever we invoke the TV tropes, turn the rule of cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, or just like the rule of weird or whatever. Like, there is it's something that comes up a lot in anime. It's not exclusive to anime, but it comes up a lot in anime. Like, did you say no? Nope.
No. I was not disagreeing. I was not disagreeing with you. I just
trying to mute me in retrospect or something.
No, I was not. My no was I was agreeing with this is not exclusive to anime. It is, it comes up in the kinds of anime that we criticize.
Certainly not exclusive.
Yes.
Certainly not. But whenever anyone tries to sell me on like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, this is what they're doing. They're like, hey, can you believe that there's a character named this? And this is really crazy.
Yeah.
And a character does this and their job is this. And they're all really out there wacky things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, like being really out there and wacky is like not enough for things. Like the extremity of what something isn't. Wouldn't it be crazy if you played a game where you did this and it'll be like a big line of really weird things you could do in a game? And I'm like, that's just not enough. Like it's yes, that would be weird.
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't it be weird
and I'm not going to say it wouldn't be pleasant in the moment. Go back and watch my stream of End of Zoe. It was the first time that I played it. I did it blind for X Rank Live. I was laughing my ass off at the things that this had me do. It was sufficient in the moment, and any of those over the top kind of things can be sufficient in the moment. However, it's a sugar rush, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like I need to know to what end, or for what sake this is happening.
Yes.
What does this add up to?
And fun is real. It's something we say a lot on the podcast, right? Like fun is real. Laughter is real. If something is funny and you had a laugh about it, that's real and valid. Like, you had that reaction. It's good that it engendered that reaction to you. For me, and again, this is not a qualitative thing, with certain properties, like I can't, like I was invested. Like at the same time I'm seeing this super swamp man punch zombies and eat grubs for health, I'm also was drawn to this because I like this world and I like this story, and I was taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And this doesn't feel like that. And then, I was thinking about this, I was talking about it online, and then I was like, well, what about Resident Evil 4? Because Resident Evil 4 is really out there. But like, one, Resident Evil 4 is funnier than this is.
Yeah.
Like significantly so. And two, Resident Evil 4 pulls a trick. Like Resident Evil 4 does both.
Yeah.
It is like, it's scary, and then it slowly becomes absurd in a way that kind of tricks you and handles the transition just a lot better than this does.
Yeah.
This goes from, hey, even within the DLC, like, isn't it sad, like this guy's going to rescue his niece, to, bug chugging, swamp puncher,
but bug chugging One Punch Man.
And it immediately goes back, and they're just tonally garbage.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't cohere.
No.
To itself or to the main game in a way that I think is really not very good, while still being fun and funny to play.
Yeah. And also just like structurally, it contradicts the main game in a huge way. Just this relative who lives nearby, but like never came by and questioned what was going on. With this family. Like I understand a little bit why he wouldn't go to the government to help. 3 years is a long time, as his ecosystem is utterly destroyed.
Yeah, 3 years, and it's just like, there's been those mega gators and those goo monsters.
Yeah,
I don't care about my brother though. I'm fine.
It ontologically does not add up. It doesn't make any kind of sense. And it feels like they had this idea, like, okay, like what if we did this first person melee kind of twist on the on the RE7 formula, and I think that works. Like it's this is a very fun game to play, or a very fun piece of DLC to play. But like they started from that point and they worked backward into a thing that cannot be reconciled with the main product at all.
Yeah. It is really fun to play. It's fun to play in a weird way that like. It's fun to play, but if we could just punch the zombies the whole time, what the fuck was the point? This feels like it should have been a spin-off or like another, almost like another thing entirely.
Yeah.
Like if you would have given this the cadence of an arcade thing, like given this the Jack's birthday, things with like points popping up when you do combos.
Yeah.
Solved as a thing that would not, because I wouldn't have that feeling of like, and I know Ethan is weaker than Joe, but it's just like, punching them isn't an option. They're really scary. They're really dangerous. You're not supposed to touch them.
Yeah. Explicitly, that is the danger, is contact with them.
Yeah. That you shouldn't punch them. It's not. So I couldn't get over that like the whole time I was playing it. So it ended up putting it was interesting to me too, the way those two things can put a damper on each other, where like, yes, this is funny, but it's less funny because it is too stupid. You know, like being so good at so stupid it's good is trickier than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah.
You know, so at least in my opinion, like other people go really like this and everything. It is has a real meme status to it. I would not take that joy away from anybody. As somebody who really loved Resident Evil 7 and was pretty invested in the story and the pathos of it, I feel a little bit made fun of.
I wish that this was just dessert. Right.
Yeah.
Like from a play style point of view, this is a dessert style treat. However, this is the last piece of RE7 content that you're going to see. It sets, it sets off against everything else and brings a conclusion to functionally the main villain of the first game or of the main game. Right. And this is an imperfect messenger to serve that purpose. Because of the outsized choices that it makes. It can't be both. Like it can't do both of those things.
Yep. And that's its biggest problem. So this begins with a flashback to the choice of Ethan making the, because you might have forgotten about this too.
Yeah.
Like we go back to our episode to talk about how problematic this articulation point is, where you're given the choice between the person you were taken to save and the person who's been helping you this whole time, while reasonably believing the person you were sent to save, has cut off your hand, and this other person's a stranger, and then it not weighting those choices equally at all.
Right.
Like one of them making it, the other one just getting doomed for no reason, like instantly. So it's already taking kind of a dumb part of. This is actually like a really great example of like a BioShock Infinite style DLC where like it is trying to undo a mistake from the game.
Oh yeah.
Like by like adding, like shoring it up.
Yeah.
This is Fitzroy having a gun to her head when she shot the kid. So you chose your girlfriend or your wife to leave here. You abandoned Zoe.
Yes. And she, gives the heartbroken Southern Gothic line, like, go on, I guess I just belong here. Something like that. And then cut to much, much later, get to after the events of the game. Zoe's out in the woods and she is struggling against Evie's control. And she is fighting back so much. And I think that this is at the time that Evie dies as well. She petrifies into kind of this crystal statue.
Yeah. She looks a lot like Gozer.
Yeah.
Or Zool or what have you.
She looks like Esper form Terra to me. She looks like a Final Fantasy creature.
Yeah. Yep. So Joe, our main character here, comes upon these Umbrella soldiers standing over her body outside his shack. He thinks that they have hurt her.
Yeah.
So you punch him out.
Yep. And he punches them out, and Joe has taken Zoe inside and is holding these soldiers captive. Tell me what kind of help arrives in a helicopter gunship is his response to like, hey,
we're here to help
you. Yeah.
But this is one of those things that just happens constantly in media where I'm like, how is the soldier so inarticulate? Like you just explain things and you don't get killed.
Talk.
Like just, we're here to help you, idiot.
Yeah.
But I ain't saying nothing. Just talk and you'll be fine. Like, but he doesn't.
I understand you're tied up and that sucks. And it probably makes it hard to think clearly. Yeah. But Joe believes that these guys are responsible for what's happening. Zoe is Joe's niece. Joe is Jack's brother. Jack lives in this compound. Joe has decided to live out in the shack, to live out in a shack in the swamp as a swamp man.
Yes, he's Greer in it. So he says like that's my niece you messed with, and around here family is a righteous cause. Beats the crap out of this innocent soldier, intimidates him in admitting that there is a cure.
Right.
And he says like, yeah, there's a cure. We were on our way to get her treatment. You fucked that up. He does not care. He's on his way to go get the cure. He ties him up.
Yeah. The cure is at a shack that is not too far from here.
Yep.
And as we go outside, we are introduced to playing as Joe, this elderly, incredibly jacked, gator hunter is what he is. There's a big mutated gator sitting in front of his shack. There's a dummy hanging up for practicing your punching. And you have a combo system that feels really good. First person melee feels good, when it is executed right. Here it is. I believe it is executed right. And also we're introduced to the healing system. There's a tree you can interact with. You pull bark off of a tree and you get a grub. And you either eat the varmints and you eat them from first person. So you see him cram the centipedes of the grubs right into his face, or you can mix them with chemical fluid to make healing goo.
Yep. to make traditional Resident Evil healing things.
Yes.
The combo system is good but really shallow. Yep. There's only 2 combos. So there is a timing to it, but once you have it, you pretty much have it. This is a fun but very shallow melee system, I feel like. First person melee is famously really hard to do. This does do it right. It is good. I don't know that this would sustain a whole game though, so I think that's part of the reason why it's good as a DLC.
Yeah.
It's like it's not Dying Light good, but it is better than many games that do this. After you eat the grub, you get into your first basic combat with a molded. We find our power-up system here, which are boxer effigies. So really weird mechanic. They're little tiny Blair Witch dolls of boxers that give you plus 1% damage for each one you're holding, which makes it feel like it is going to be an inventory risk-reward thing because they take up a slot in your inventory. It isn't, though. No, I never was hurting for space ever.
Yeah, because you're not really using weapons. You do find like spears and things like that, but never hurting for space.
Yeah, so it's very strange, and the upgrades are really 1% extra damage is nothing. Eventually they get to aggregate, like probably by the end of the game you have 13% damage or something like that. Before you find the Iron Man glove.
There are some that count for more, like their champion. Champion effigies. Yeah,
those are like 5.
Yeah,
nothing ever goes big numbers.
Right.
In this.
Yeah. But you get to the shack. There's a body in it, and there's a soldier here. He's been killed. He is holding a partial vial of the cure. He had tried injecting himself, but there's only half of it. And spookily, kinda some black ooze falls out of his eye sockets.
Yeah. When you return to your shack with this partial cure, the partial vial that you put is not enough. It doesn't actually wake up Zoe. And the soldier is about to tell you where to get more. He says, "Oh, it was just a partial vial." Like, what did you expect? Like, you kept punching me when I was going to explain this whole thing. But Swamp Thing pulls him out. The man thing pulls him out.
In the game, he is called Swamp Man in the documentation, which is weird because that is our description for Joe. It feels more accurate for Joe.
Yeah, to be Swamp Man, and the other one's like Swampman, like an attorney.
Yep.
So you get to your boat, and the Swamp Thing yells at you as you pull away.
Yes.
It is angry, and it's going to be kind of your nemesis figure during this, but like
just an incredibly weak T version of Nemesis. He's just going to pop up at preordained spots. Kind of like virus. Nemesis, but they made you feel like he didn't do that.
Yeah. I said weak T virus.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I talked over you. That is very good.
It's okay.
I didn't hear
you. It's my fault. I interrupted you, but I just felt like that was...
That is very... I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought you might.
Did you want me to clap for you? Here, I'll clap for you.
Okay.
You did good, man.
Good clap.
Do you want a belly scratch? I'll scratch your belly.
It's belly bump.
Woo!
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the watch out for fireballs belly bump.
So you're in this boat, and you're driving over toward the base, or the direction that the soldier told you before he was yanked through the wall. And there are structures that Joe does not recognize. Like there's a big dividing wall that is here that we're going to need to find a way to open up. You drop Zoa off in a nearby shack, and this introduces the stealth kills, kind of in this compound of tents that have been set up. Also
really weird. Because stealth kill, like they do have vision. They don't have audio. No. So when you do a stealth kill, it's the loudest thing. Like you stomp on their head, and when you stomp on their head, you're like, yeah, like you're making tons of noise. You're standing up. You're not being stealthy at all.
Yeah.
It like locks you into what would be like a Doom style finisher kind of thing. It's really strange.
Yeah.
And then you can't be seen while you're doing this. Like It's a really underdeveloped stealth system as well as an underdeveloped melee system. Like the whole thing is very, very much an experiment.
Yeah.
After you get through this first stealth section, you find this note that says the antidote synthesizing equipment has been moved to the paddle boat, where everything gets moved to in the swamp. So you leave the medical tent, and Swamp Man attacks you. So we have to fight Swamp Man in this narrow corridor outside. These fights are genuinely really fun. I'm getting your block timing and figuring out his combos has a whiff of souls to it.
Yeah.
A whiffin. And it is fun.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You just do enough damage to him that he runs away. And I like any of these fights with Swamp Man. I love, mechanically. Well, no, I'm going to say that I love this, but it contributes to the absurdity that's wrestling. Like you're doing wrestle moves on each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's very absurd. So you take them down and you get into kind of the next area, this flooded swamp that is full of these mutated gators. The fungus got them, and they have these pustules, and when they get you, it is instant death. So what you need to do is either avoid them, and when you can't avoid them, you have to use these spears to take them out from a distance. You can get more spears by collecting scrap and by collecting tree limbs, and crafting them. Crafting them together.
Yeah. The gators that you fight here are really weird and basically like just traps.
Yeah.
They don't come up on land.
No.
It's like something that gators do. IRL. And yeah, I ended up having some scarcity of spears. Like this ended up being a little bit frustrating to me because the way they move and sneaking around them did not feel super consistent.
Yeah.
Like satisfying when it worked, but not, pretty imperfect. I also felt like maybe this was the beginning of like a cool arsenal I would get, but there's one other weapon, other than the end game super sword you get, super weapon you get, that is not used a whole lot.
Yeah.
In this. So you climb up onto the paddle boat or and we get the extra spiky molded.
Yeah.
Mold have a bunch of spikes.
They're just tougher. I didn't notice them behaving any different. Kind of look like they have a crown on or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this introduces the next weapon, which is the exploding spear traps.
Yes.
That you can use, which are like timed things. You set them off, put them down, and then set them off. They're not landmines. And I use them here, and then I stopped using them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they're very situational. It works here because you're on this big riverboat that has hallways and stuff that you can lure people down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you crawl through, opening up some vents and things like that until eventually you get to the lab room, which has the synthesizer. The synthesizer hitches partway through, so Joe punches it until it breaks out and finishes. Again, more Doom 2016 stuff. I wanted it to be more fun. But then the Swamp Man attacks, throwing you through the floor into the boss arena. Into the wrestling ring. Yes.
Where you get your first proper boss fight with the Swamp Man.
Yes.
Which is a first person melee, like wrestle. Thing. Like it's regular punches until he takes a knee and then you do a wrestling move.
Yes. It is very funny that you can body slam him and he will body slam you. Or not body slam, pile drive.
Yeah. Pile drive. Suplexing.
Yeah.
You suplex each other.
Yeah.
Being suplexed in first person is really disorienting.
I know.
Which I imagine is true for real.
Yeah.
You eventually take him out, you twist his head off and throw it onto the floor. And the head bears a real resemblance.
Yes.
To our boy Jack, like spoilers. I didn't figure it out right at this point, but in retrospect, it seems obvious.
Yeah.
So you take the rest of the cure back to Zoe through the shortcut. However, Swamp Man's back. He'd not die. He emerges from the water, carries her away. And you give chase in a motorboat through the open door.
Yes.
There. Open big BC wall door.
Yeah. Heading deeper into the swamp, into like these jetties and docks and walkways that have to be owned by somebody. I don't know why they're here.
I don't know.
Yeah. I do like how the fungus has gotten out and everything is covered with these pulsating tumors and the fungus is corrupting stuff. That is good, but it also puts the lie to, Chris hearing, oh, the fungus is contained. No, it's been expanding through this ecosystem for 3 years. So you have what you have is a super fun site.
Yeah. This needs to be knocked out.
Yeah.
Through like a missile or something.
Yeah. Pave it.
Yeah. Pave it is the good way to do it.
Yeah.
As you're heading through, as you're swimming to get to this other swamp house, a twig eater bubbles up.
It's very funny. I like that.
It's very cute. Yep. It's just underground and, it's real. One of the gators own it. I don't know. Gator sex doll open. Bubbles up. Yeah. It's got the weird lipstick. And that weird dick mangling mouth that they all have.
What could be greater than golf with a gator? I'm sorry, sex with a gator.
Yeah, what could be greater? So you get past that, you do some more gator stealth to get in this boathouse, and there's these like tough fights on these narrow walkways that also function almost as a balance thing.
Yeah.
The way they do it is they don't do a meter or anything. It's just you have like usually not hitboxes, but like the level geometry on walkways is way more generous than it looks. Like if you were to turn any bridge in a game into a just its wireframe, it would extend beyond the visual image of the thing. Here, it is exactly the visual image. And because you are in first person, like your center of gravity, if that gets off the thing, you do a stumble animation and fall into the water.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't tiptoe it.
Yeah. You have a brief little window to correct, but that often led me to overcorrect and fall off into the gator water.
Yep. Which is, this is not great. This is not super fun.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah. And also there's a really unnatural kind of area like at the far end of this arena where there's like a zigzag walkway that has these trellises set up that block the view. And it's like a way to set up ambushes when really there ought not be ambushes.
Super gamey.
Yeah.
In general, just like who built this?
Yeah.
When you get past, you get to a church. Who owns this? Like this swamp area makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Not to be, I do not understand this culture.
Well, I mean, this was swamp is it's a land where laws do not hold. There is no sense, but it's just swamp sense.
Apparently, swamp law. This all makes sense in swamp law.
But you fight against a bloater, one of the vomiting guys, and some of his buddies in the graveyard outside of the church here. I don't know if this is implying that the bodies that were buried here got corrupted. It's very confusing to me.
Yeah.
I think that I am not meant to think it through.
Too.
What's that?
Yeah. I don't think there's a cosmology to it. I like this fight because it is, again, it's doing the Resident Evil thing where there's a big landmark in the middle to block vomit, basically, but clearing out the ads so you can concentrate on the bloater is difficult.
Yes.
And was fun to kind of try to manage lines of sight while doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Yeah. So you get inside and Zoe is actually laying on the altar in the church, but when you approach, Swamp Man attacks.
Yep.
And in the struggle, this is all in a cinematic, Joe manages to rip off some of the tissue that is acting as a cowl on Swamp Man's head, revealing him to be an extremely mutated Jack. Remember, Jack had turned into a boathouse-filling pustule. We had shot all of his eyes out. Then we injected him with something that turned him into chalk. There should have been no gooey center left for him that could mutate into Swamp Man.
It just changes everything if this cure doesn't work.
Yes.
Like if they follow up on this, and Mia, turns into a monster later or something like that. Like if they follow up on the cure is fake.
Yeah.
Then fine, I guess. But as is doing the whole game and having this major fight of such a memorable character, really like the real climax of Resident Evil 7, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is like the fight against Jack. Like Jack is the iconic villain. Jack is, all of the scenes that people really remember. Nobody is like quoting cutscenes from the tanker.
No.
Or from the mines after that. No one gives a shit. Like everything is Baker's and Jack. The main Baker, that big climactic thing being undercut by him he's actually fine though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so fucking dumb. Like it's so dumb. I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. It's so dumb.
It's a bad dessert.
It's a bad dessert. Like you can make a beloved character come back. You have to wait longer than this.
Yeah.
And you have to have some kind of explanation or something like that. Cause it's simultaneously saying the rules don't matter, but the reason why we're going to go find her is because we have gotten a copy of the cure and we're trying to synthesize it. Like there's all this, like the semiotics of it being important to follow the rules, and it's saying the rules don't matter.
Yeah.
So
irritating. So, the Jack/Swamp Man puts Joe into a coffin and then pushes him into the swamp water. Giving them kind of a burial at sea. All this does is cause you to wash ashore near the Baker estate, near some Umbrella rafts. Just back into Umbrella's, zone of influence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a radio, enough time has passed to reveal that the Baker house is under attack.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, good. This is of course, because we first found Zoe at the midpoint of Resident Evil 7. Mm-hmm. So while this is happening, the end of Resident Evil 7 is happening.
Yes.
In another off camera. You go up to now here's a thing too. So you go up the path and you find a case with Umbrella Tech's AMG, the Advanced Multi-Purpose Gauntlet. Seemingly one purpose.
Yeah. It is, it is implied to be part of a bigger exoskeleton that is meant to help you load stuff. Meant to help you, move around big, heavy gear and things like that. You wear the gauntlet, and it superpowers your punches. It makes you the best punch man, and you can actually charge up punches that will one-shot every enemy except for Swamp Man.
Yes. So you get this Iron Man fist from this, and like, how is there anything less tonally Resident Evil than this that has ever happened in the series?
No.
Than getting an Iron Man super fist.
I mean, the one guy saying, "Behold my extreme makeover" is pretty close.
That was pretty rough.
Yeah.
This is like an extreme makeover for the tone of the series.
Yeah.
And it being part of a loading thing, like Resident Evil 8 is going to have fucking mechs in it.
Yeah.
And it's going to break my heart.
This is what Umbrella's doing.
Umbrella's making mechs? Oh. I hate it. I hate it. Like, I hate it so much. And there's a person who's just like, oh yeah, give me a super powerful fist. That's a cool thing. Having a metal glove that does Iron Man shit's just inherently cool. I don't think it is. I don't agree. Like, it feels inherently uncool to me to have this. Like, it is fun to go around and do super punches.
Yeah, I was laughing my ass off when I first got this. But again, it was a sugar rush, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it makes like it brings a little bit more interest to the first person melee combat by introducing these charge punches that you can do. Okay, fine. What else does that say? Like, what
does it reflect? Yeah. What Pandora's box is now open in this universe?
Yeah.
To just like vistas of stupid that like, because people are like, oh, Resident Evil has always been stupid. Mm-hmm. It's been a really specific kind of stupid.
Yes.
And this is an anything goes, just push the stupid meters up as high as you can, stupid.
And if you say, oh, this is in line with how stupid things have always been, this is a return to the kind of bad stupid that we hoped that was like fun in Resident Evil 6 if you were like down for it, but it wasn't sustainable.
No. And it's so far from the stupid of Resident Evil 1 and 2, which was B-movie stupid.
Yeah.
Like this is every B-movie stuck into a thing.
Yeah.
You know, but on top of all this pathos and stuff, and it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
I just think it's dumb. And it's also, even from a gameplay perspective, like playing with the charge thing is not that different than using a power fist in Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it still doesn't feel like this is like doing new ground in games. Like
it's only adding just like a little bit more interest to a system that we criticize for being
to the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool, but it's not blazing a new trail.
Yes.
You know, so yeah, it is. I have extremely mixed feelings about it. It is funny. Mm-hmm. Like I did laugh, and then I was like, oh, but I laughed and I was like, this is so fucking dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the same time, the music changes even.
Yeah.
You go and you one shot a bunch of moldeds. You get to the house, you punch down the reinforced door to the house to get in.
Yeah.
We get to see that there is there's a tent in the back where they've set up a bunch. You know, where a bunch of tents have been set up.
There's a tent where the trailer used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a little bit of a memo with just some, pop science words that maybe explain how Jack's mutation works. References, telomerase, the Hayflick limit, which is the number of times a cell can divide before it degrades, referring specifically to like aging and things like that. Just says, hey, he's got special dividing cells. Cool. Mm-hmm. But it's not really necessary.
And why him?
Yeah. Why him? Why not everybody else? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go inside. You go into the main hall, which is all tented and everything is kind of packed up. Zoe is sitting at a table. You run up to it and Jack attacks. And Joe says the most obvious thing now: "You're just a rabid dog now. I'll put you out of your misery." Did you think Jack could be saved, man?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, we're gonna bring him back. The Jack and Joe brothers, like on NES.
He's just a little fungal. It's still good.
Yeah. Super, super silly. And we do a boss fight here, which is fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's got multiple phases, which is, fine in this case.
Mm-hmm.
In the main hall where he has does regular melee combos, but also shoots out like a Venom-esque like beam of goo stuff,
yeah
like power.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to dodge that. There's like a way you can dodge it. Again, there's a snifter of souls to it,
mm-hmm.
of like learning these patterns and learning when you can charge up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are very, there are openings that are not as clear as you might think, mm-hmm. and kind of learning what those openings are and taking advantage of them is also part of this. Yeah, but it's 3 phases. Each of them ends with a wrestle move, and the overall fight ends with you punching Jack's head apart, which has never worked before.
No, but this time it calcifies him, which he's been calcified before as well.
Didn't work before.
Yeah. But now you inject your niece. She wakes up. Umbrella troops in Redfield burst in. They're here to help, to be the heroes.
Yep.
And we flash forward a little bit of time. A little bit later, Zoe wakes up in a tent. Her hair is white, but the crystals are gone. And Joe assures her, hey, your family still loved her somewhere deep down. Like, that is, don't.
How do you know that?
Get that pathos off of here. Like, that is not the game I just played.
Yeah.
And then I love this. Like, Redfield gives Zoe the phone, and it's Ethan. It's our man from the main game. It's like, I told you I'd send help, and I always keep my promises.
Not how Ethan talked.
Not how Ethan talked. Also really weird. Like, whether he would keep that promise is not a loose end.
Yeah.
In my mind. Like, it's just so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like imagining immediately after, the end of Resident Evil 7, after you fought this gigantic nightmare tumor wall in an attic, him being like, oh yeah, there's somebody who died back in the swamp. Go get him.
Yep.
Okay, we'll put the entire Umbrella Corps on it.
Yeah.
Sir, yes, sir.
You're our god now, Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan's going to become like a head in a jar that walks on a spider's body that controls the new Umbrella or something like that.
Yeah.
In the future, because anything goes. And then he sends out his mech army. And
here's the thing, before we go into, wrap up with the weirdo modes and things like that, I ended, the main game of RE7 and even the first batch of DLCs led me to have just an incredible amount of trust for Capcom in thinking, hey, the series is back on its is back in good hands. Like, it can pick up again, and I can just trust that whatever they put out is going to be good. Right. These two pieces of DLC, even though there are sugar rushes to be found in them, like, I don't know. I've got doubts. Gary, I've got doubts.
It's funny. I'm glad I didn't play these before I played RE2.
Yeah.
Because I went into RE2 like just fresh off of Resident Evil 7 and was just like really excited, and I had that affection for Resident Evil 2 and everything, but I just had that trajectory. And this being the most recent thing I've played is the thing that has given me like doubts about it. If I previously, when it was just 7 and 2, I was like, yes, give me 8, give me 3 give me all that shit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, man, what are you going to do with this story? You can't go to 6 this quickly.
Yeah.
Like, Resident Evil took 6 games to get to Resident Evil 6, plus a bunch of Gaiden games. You can't go from 7 to 6 level bullshit.
Yeah.
In the space of a DLC. It is too quick.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I could have done this. I should have done this. Like, looked at the writers for these things, like looked and seen, which creative teams were involved in the story parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of both of these, because they feel like none of the dialogue is as good.
Yeah.
Either the story DLC is like, it doesn't have that spark. That's something we praised a lot in the Resident Evil 7 episode, because I genuinely think it's great. None of that is on offer here. It just feels like a totally different experience. And it's almost weird. Like, I want to feel cynical and say, oh, these were just tossed off.
Yeah.
This was not meant to be paid attention to. They were tossed off because they said they do DLC, and they did it.
It has too big of an effect. Like, it has too big of an effect on what can come next, because characters die. We learn more about what Umbrella is. And like, good, we lose good characters in Lucas, and we gain really questionable stuff in terms of Zoe still being alive, in terms of Iron Man hands, etc. It's a weird turn. I'm happy that I did it my way, because I played the DLC, pretty long after the original game came out. So like, I didn't like have stuff necessarily on my head fresh to be ruined. And then it's kind of like, okay, that's really weird. I'm like, who knows where this is going to go after this? Like, a couple of months later is when I played RE2 for the first time, and I was like, oh, they still got it. Like, that's good, and that's fine. Now talking about it again, and especially knowing like, the Project Resistance or whatever that is, that feels goofy. That feels like a goofy Gaiden side game too. And that could be okay. But what if it's not a side thing? Like, what if that actually is a harbinger for whatever RE8 is going to be? Yeah.
I'm happy that we had our brief coming up for air regardless. Like, I hope that it stays good. I hope that it's not a blip. Like 7 and 2 are not blips. And regardless of which, if they continue with the remakes, which like the second one did pretty well, even if the mainline Resident Evil 8 ends up being dumb, I'm still down for the Resident Evil 3 remake.
Yeah.
Like the affection I have for those early games and the kind of set pieces in the story will carry me a really long distance.
Yes, same.
So it's no hope is lost. It is just it puts a little bit of a gray cloud on a gray like lining on a silver cloud.
Yeah. It adds some qualifications to an affection and a trust for this new strain of Resident Evil that had no qualifications before.
Yeah, briefly unqualified.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up with these mini modes. Like this will be fairly quick.
Yeah.
I think the one that I like the most is called Jack's 55th birthday.
This is really fun.
It's fun and it's funny.
Yes.
And I think that the way that you do funny in this thing is you just don't try to make me cry at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so.
It's pretty easy, actually.
Yeah. So it's Jack's 55th birthday. You're playing as Mia, and you have to feed the hungry birthday boy. This feels the closest to mercenary modes because it is timed. You do get rewards for killing particular enemies. But it's very funny too. Like visually, they do just super cheesy tricks that I am here for.
Yeah. You are gathering, going around gathering food. You're dealing with your limited inventory space in interesting ways. Some of the power ups you get will be like icons that you can hold in your space in your inventory. They give you power ups but take up space.
Yeah.
And you are bringing food back to Jack to fill up a meter as things get harder.
Yeah.
Jack has a birthday hat, is sitting there in front of doing dinner dog.
Yep.
Who's just banging a fork and knife. And they just made him record a bunch of combat or like a bunch of barks that are all just so charismatic and good.
Yep.
Like, I'm wasting away here. It's just really, really good. Really, where's my dinner? Like, it's very funny.
Yep.
It's just really charming.
Yeah.
And then the molded all have party hats because they got invited to the party.
Yeah.
And that's also really cute.
And your guns, they shoot bursts of confetti when you fire them along with the bullets.
Yep. It is a fun time.
Yeah.
This gets harder and harder as you go. Eventually they started introducing lock and key systems where a door will be locked and you have to kill certain molded to open them up. To get into different areas. They'll start being boss fights as you go. Like, you have to kill Marguerite in this one. I didn't get that far in it. I watched.
Yeah.
I played enough. I played an amount of this, but didn't go deep on it. But it is really creative and pretty fun. And it does change what you're doing, just kind of trying to speed around, getting, food items. You can combine food items to get bigger, appetite bonuses for Hungry Boy. So
it's great.
It's good.
Yeah. Quite fun. Like it's a good diversion. Like I did not see this through. I didn't do everything, but it's fun to revisit the, some well-designed levels from the main game, and re-explore them. And just, it has all of the, it has the Sega arcade game, bling and charm to it. Instant feedback for good stuff you might do. Yeah. This is totally worth some time. I don't know that I put more than 2 sittings into it, but it's good. I kind of want to try this in VR. This seems like it'd be fun in VR.
It is. It's neat.
Yeah,
it is neat. It's also in kind of going through all these, it is real a master class in reusing geography, all these different creative modes that do that. Because by giving you different goals, it recontextualizes how the space feels. Like rushing through the kitchen to get a cake and a wine bottle to combine, it feels a lot different than creeping through it, hiding from Jack. Which feels different than walking around it slowly and doing the walking sim portion of Daughters.
Yeah.
And all three of those are the same space being used in 3 really cool different ways.
Yeah.
So good stuff. The next 2 modes I did not spend very much time with at all. I really just kind of read about them.
Yeah. I tried my level best with Ethan Must Die, but it's too much. I never really have gotten into the challenge modes in these games. So Ethan Must Die. It feels like this is the Souls-like version, insofar as they use a death loop. You have an inventory that you start out with nothing, and you go grab things from these random boxes, these crates. If you die, you leave behind a little gravestone, and then you go and inspect that, and you get one of your items back. Maybe a gun, maybe something something more useless than a gun, but you do get it back. Is a way that a death is not an entire loss. The goal, you start out in the yard, kind of by the entrance to the old house. You have to get through the main house and then head to the greenhouse to defeat Marguerite. However, everything is incredibly difficult. Like a regular molded can kill you in 2 hits. And like I said, you start out with nothing, and you may just end up not getting any healing items, may end up not getting any ammo. The successful runs of this that I saw involved a lot of running, a lot of fleeing from enemies, only fighting when it was necessary, and using the traps that are set against you to your favor, luring enemies into them.
Yeah, and the final battle, when you get to Marguerite and you have to fight her, that's very difficult because even good Resident Evil battles are about pitting your resources versus, a sink for them.
Yeah.
So you have these very limited resources. It is difficult to have enough bullets to kill Marguerite. Like, you have to scrounge during that boss fight regularly, but you really have to in this. Watching this mode is really fun.
Yeah.
Watching somebody be really good at it is really fun because this is a kind of combat system that is deep enough to like really sincerely master.
Yeah.
The other kind of challenge mode that is less challenging is Madhouse mode. This, I think, aims to create a more traditional Resident Evil experience.
Yeah.
With limited saves and no checkpoints. So you have cassette tapes instead of ink ribbons. But you no longer, in the real Resident Evil is a little bit like you had save points that were mostly there for quitting when you're done playing, basically, because you had checkpoints as well.
Yeah.
And those kind of things they kind of worked, accomplished the same purpose in the main game. Here it eliminates one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is still the main game. It is the maximum difficulty that you can do. It does the regular tricks. Enemies hit harder. You can take less damage. Resources are a little bit more scarce. The interesting thing about this that makes me want to do a little bit more of it is that it is a rearrange.
Yeah.
The critical path through the game is different this time. So it's a little bit like a Master Quest mode. Which feels interesting and good to me. The thing that does not sound as interesting and good is the fact that Jack runs faster than you.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah. I trust that it does. Like having seen people play this.
People that
online,
I trust, Eric in the Slack and Allison have said that this is good and works. So
yeah, I definitely believe that it works. I think that I am not in general. I don't play challenge modes of games,
right.
And a Master Quest mode is also something that is a little bit less interesting to me.
Yeah,
like for this kind of thing, like it is, having to scrounge again and find all the keys again and everything. It adds a little bit of extra life, but I think I would need more extra life.
Yeah,
but and also I wait long enough between playing games. Like we were talking about this in the Slack about talking about this with like Deus Ex mods, where it's like I only play Deus Ex every few years, and I just kind of want to play Deus Ex. So I don't end up doing like last time I did a mod, but I end up doing like minor improvements and nothing that radically changes things because I don't want the radical change. I don't want the randomizer. I'm in the mood to play Super Metroid. I want to play Super Metroid.
Yeah,
I don't want to play Super Metroid that's totally different.
When I come back to it, it feels fresh enough.
Yeah,
yeah.
For me at least, just because I don't replay games on that schedule.
Yeah. The other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is incredibly slight, and it's just a VR demo showing the RE engine in VR is called Kitchen. It came on like a PSVR demo disc. It's just like a 2-minute like VR video of you being spooked by the bakers as you sit at a kitchen table. I thought it would be a little bit meatier than that, but yeah, it's just a way to say, hey, isn't VR good for horror? And it was like, yeah. I don't think that was in dispute. So
yeah,
thumbs up.
Yep, and show off kind of what the engine looked like because there was a time previous to Resident Evil 7, we all had no idea this would work.
Yeah,
and now we're on the other side of it.
Yep.
So, and by and large, it works. And then there's also some DLCs that are less good.
Yes.
But it's fun to kind of have the entire thing. Kind of taken care of here. Put a pin on it is fun. I've been saving these because I knew we'd cover them for the show at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to put them behind us. And I did have fun with even the bad ones, like even Not a Hero, which is probably the worst of the lot. That's not just an explicit different mode. It's still fun to play through.
Yeah. Like there is stuff to recommend it from a play.
Yeah. It's just, we're the Resident Evil wonks that like care about some of the shit that no one listening cares about. So when we're like, yeah, it fucks up the tone, there's just people who are just like, what the hell are you going on about? Like it's not a thing of this concern.
Yeah.
So
yeah. If you want to hear my first reactions to a lot of this stuff, there are stream archives at youtube.com/Duckfeed.tv, where I played the entire main game. That was a replay for me. But these DLCs, they're like the new ones, Not a Hero and Oh gosh, End of Zoe. That was my first exposure to them.
Mm-hmm,
So you can get those. You can get those first impressions.
Yeah. Next episode. So by the time you hear this, you still have some time, I believe, definitely on early release, to send us your thoughts on this month's games, which include the 2018 Call of Cthulhu, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, the Resident Evil 7 DLCs, which we just talked about, and our premium episode for this month, Alan Wake.
Yes. So next week, if you're listening on the public feed, everybody gets the generalities. And then patrons will get the entire episode where we talk about, the outline of the way the different episodes go.
Yeah. Where I'm going to grill Cole for a Type 5 on the DLCs.
Yeah. They're not good.
So they have their fans apparently, but I am not hungry for them. In somebody, I think the where I'm coming at this, like on Alan Wake, is that like I really liked it the first time I played it. I think it is a game that is fairly uniquely resistant to revisits for me.
Yeah,
because I know the story and the play is no great shakes.
Right,
but it is that initial story is good, and there's production things. There are a lot of things to like about it. Looking forward to talking about it. I love all of the Twilight Zone episodes in it.
Oh yeah,
those are all great.
Yes.
So it is going to be a good fun time. If you have anything to say about November's games, the deadline is November 15th.
And those games are The Last Express, The Simpsons Hit and Run, and our premium episode is about Deus Ex: Human Revolution.
You never asked for this? Well, you're getting it.
Yeah.
You can also, if you want to hear those premium episodes, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You get a bunch of stuff. $5 a month is the best level because you get a billion things.
Yes.
Yeah. And other than that, ratings and reviews are very useful to us. PRGE.
Yes.
Very soon. 2 weeks.
Please come. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're in the Pacific Northwest, supporting the Retro Gaming Expo, that is the weekend of the 18th, I believe. And we will be doing a panel. We will have a meetup. Details to come. But if you're in town, we'd love to see you. We'll have a table.
Yes.
Set up and come talk to us.
Yeah.
Pick up some buttons and stuff.
Please do. We have too many of them. Take them.
Please. And that's probably about it.
Think so.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. And until next time, what should they watch out for, Cole?
They should watch out for. I'm so hungry. It's my birthday. I want to.
It's my birthday.
Where's the way here?
Where's my vittles? What's taking so long? I'm wasting away here.